I'm Jamie Braithwaite.
I'm Garth Braithwaite.
And we are here on a Taco Tuesday to talk to you about JOYrific. I contribute so much of JOYrific to Garth. He is my amazing husband that I really truly feel like I came with a lot of the emotional intelligence issues that I knew that they were problems that needed to be solved, and Garth came with solutions.
It's really easy to come up with solutions for other people's problems. It's a lot harder for solutions for your own.
Well, you're really good at it. So on Tuesday for this season 3, we are going to be having 10-minute conversations about solutions that we have. You're going to start the timer. You totally can start a timer. Garth's background is in technology.
We have very similar backgrounds.
Let's do an introduction. Garth, will you introduce yourself?
I'm Garth Braithwaite, and I'm married to Jamie.
I'll introduce your background awesomeness.
It's a really hard question, and everyone has different ways of different strategies, right? But if someone asks me, what do I do? Usually the first thing I say is I work with computers, and then I wait for the response to figure out how I'm going to follow up from there. Because there are some people where I say I work with computers, and they're like, oh, and don't usually give my full background until I talk to a person long enough and I understand where they're coming from, and I know that I understand what they would care about.
So let's pretend it's someone who really cares. Because there's a listener out there that really does care. I hope.
I don't know.
It might be your mom.
Yeah, but my mom already knows.
I'll give an introduction. Garth works at Adobe in San Francisco. He's worked there since 2011. He started as a designer and then moved to be an engineer. He's an engineer on the design team, and he really makes Adobe look cool altogether. So it's all about design systems. And I love this fact because Garth does design systems and I do like operational systems, and we have that mindset together that is very...
There's something that we don't like about inefficiencies. We hate it when we see duplicating work or inefficient work. So the both of us, that is something that we end up doing. And that's one of those hard things, like when we translate any of it to parenting or personal life, because we don't have employees. We don't have people that'll come and go. They're not transient. They are members of the family, and we work with the people that we have, which means even though it's faster for me to do things sometimes, that's not the long-term efficiency that we're going for.
Our oldest is 18, in her senior year, getting ready to launch.
She's close, yeah.
And our youngest is in kindergarten. So we have a lot of the...
different stages.
We have 3 in high school, 3 in elementary school, and 1 in middle school. Garth has a ton of really good nuggets of knowledge.
Nuggets.
Nuggets of knowledge for technology.
They're like knowledge nuggies.
Garth's knowledge nuggies. This is the first Tuesday in 2024. Let's talk about, I like the arms race thing. Let's do that.
We've had a couple of times where we've talked with our own kids, but then we've also tried talking with other parents about technology. And anytime you get into your kids using technology, it's really easy for it to turn into an arms race, meaning you set up barriers for them abusing the technology, and then they find ways around those barriers. And so the natural reaction is to throw up taller barriers and try and make it harder. The problem is that you're never going to win. And it has to deal with what's your definition of winning. But if your goal is to control completely your kids' usage of technology, you're not going to ever have that. And if you do, it'll be at the detriment of a relationship, and it definitely won't be preparing your kid to be able to leave the house and control things themselves.
Which we successfully have not had a child leave the house yet.
What do you think about what I just said about the arms race? Like...
I think it's magical what you say. And it kind of takes me back to technology education, which is my background from my undergrad. So with technology education, the fact is you're never going to be able to teach a class and know more than the students.
Yeah.
Because they are further along. They've been doing it longer than you have, even though you're the teacher. And yes, technically, I'm very skilled, but the skill is more of learning how to learn rather than being the most knowledgeable on the topic. And I think that applies to a lot of things in my life. And that's why I love doing this podcast and getting people on here talking about the things that they're learning, because it helps me to learn. So I'm hoping that that resonates a little bit with the audience of you're not going to be an expert and you're not going to be able to control, like you said, because it's really difficult to do it. So we have Apple devices, and the thing that we utilize for screen time, because I think screen time is like the buzzword, right? Like how long are your kids on screen time and figuring out how to not have a temper tantrum when you want them to get off of the phone. So that intrinsic motivation of like being a human and having connection. And with the arms race aspect, because I naturally want to build the bigger barrier. That's my natural instinct.
And then stronger consequence. And then it becomes harder to like do natural consequences until it turns into, that's it, you lost your phone.
Yeah. Throw it in the garbage. Nobody gets anything. The TV's off for a week, right? Like,
and any of the things that you say that you are like, this is going to be the line in the sand, this will make sense. It'll be stuff like, well, I paid for the phone, so I get to choose what happens. Great. They're going to go buy their own phone potentially.
and then they've paid for the phone, and then they get to choose what happens.
And no, that's not what you want either. Because like
Right.
their brains still aren't fully formed, and they still don't completely see the influences of the. I wouldn't go as far as like saying they're evil, because I don't think they're intentionally evil. They're more addictive and manipulative, and they just like
Technology in general.
social media in particular tries to take your attention as much as possible. Their metrics for success are usually around time and attention on their platforms.
Yeah. Your eyeballs are what they are trying to attract.
And they do a good job. And
And I've been on marketing teams that those were our KPIs that we had to address and figure out ways that we could shift and pivot in order to get higher numbers and performance. Like it's real. There's teams behind it. And I think that we've done a good job of telling that to our kids. And I mean, they know what I do for work and they've seen what I've done and letting them know.
I mean, just like what you were talking about, you've been part of marketing teams that they put money into things. They have their whole, and this is the point of all the businesses, they're trying to maximize their revenue. They're trying to maximize their sales. And they're not like individually thinking about like, oh, what if the wrong audience sees this ad and now I've convinced somebody who doesn't need it or doesn't have the money for it to buy it. That's not necessarily anything that goes into what they're thinking. Their thinking is people can make decisions for themselves, and I need to find every single possible customer that I can. So then you've got to figure out how to teach your kids to think for themselves. And it's not like we're perfect at it, right? Like I still am guilty of buying something that I don't need, right?
Oh,
because of
targeted
a good
ads
targeted
over
ad.
Christmas. Like I got some good ones.
And we know our parents' generation, they're very prone to being
Oh yeah.
scammed because scammers know that they don't fully understand a lot of the motivations that are going into building these things. And so they can take advantage of people who don't understand it.
There's the statistics that came out from 2023, the study. Did you see that? Did you look at some of those numbers?
The American Family Survey 2023 asks parents about their kids' social media habits, while the Pew Research Center asks teens directly. So it's the difference between what parents think their kids do and what kids think they do.
The American Family Survey of 2023 found that social media use among kids ages 10 through 18 is nearly universal. 96% of parents say their kids have access to at least one social media platform. Conversely, U.S. teens ages 13 through 17 surveyed by the Research Center report much lower rates of Facebook use and much higher rates of BeReal use. So I just want to pull out those statistics.
I think this is interesting. You should be able to. I think most parents should know what social media platforms they're on, but there's no way of knowing completely for sure.
So parents thought 4% of their kids used BeReal,
Yeah.
but 13% of the kids said they used BeReal.
Yeah.
So that was a statistic that was farther off.
Yeah.
Then there's some that are very similar. Like TikTok, 63% of the parents said it, 63% of the kids said it. So that one was right on target,
Yeah.
right at the same. YouTube, however, this is one that I found very interesting.
Yeah.
YouTube, 61% of parents said their kids used YouTube, but 93% of kids say they use YouTube.
I don't know why it's not 100%. so much of everything we learn now is like I can't do anything myself.
Without
That's a new
YouTube.
project without looking on YouTube.
It's amazing. So let's talk about YouTube, because I have strong feelings about YouTube, especially endless scrolling on YouTube. I think that those like dark rabbit holes can get in places.
It's not any different than Instagram Reels or TikTok. If
Right.
anything, like they figured out the formula of let's condense, let's get this down, and you don't make decisions on what you're watching next. You just say next. Like it's the most mindless.
On Instagram.
Instagram Reels and TikTok, same thing. And YouTube has it now too with the YouTube Shorts. There's a convergence on this form of consuming, and it has some upsides and some downsides.
Yeah. So I want to talk about that with you, because I feel like you are expert in this area in a lot of ways. And hopefully we can help some parents understand different things. First off, talk to your kids about social media. If you're on it, if they're on it, just openly. I would love for all the statistics to match where parents knew what kids were doing on the things that they were doing. And that's part of the proactive parenting, and which goes back to my technology education of like, ask the students what it is that they're doing to do the cool things. And then let's have classes on that. Let's learn about that and let's grow that. So we're at time.
Oh, see you next week.
And we'll see you next week.